Hello, this is John Oye with Severe Service Specialists, or as many of you know, SSS. Today we're going to talk about repacking a Mogas valve. As always, make sure you get your lockout tagouts in place if you need any permits to do the work, and as always, make sure operations is aware of what's going on. Secondly, we always want to wear the proper protective equipment. Okay. First thing we need to do is determine which type of Mogas valve we're working on. This one and this one are both C-series Mogas valves. The only difference is the way that the mounting pad is attached to the body. So on here, the posts are mounted through the top, and on this one, the posts are mounted on the side. Either way, we have to remove the mounting pad, the handles, or if there was an actuator or gear on here, all of that would need to come off to repack one of these valves, okay? So on the C-series, we have to remove the entire mounting pads. The RSVP, which is the new version of the RSVP, the mounting pad is integral to the body, so it's all one piece. This is a little bit easier valve to repack. We don't have to remove anything off the top works. All we will need to do is take our packing bolts loose, slide our packing gland up, and then you can use a pair of vice grips or something to hold those out of your way, and then you can dig your packing out from there and then cut your new packing rings and put them in. This is the old styled RSVP, and this is what we're going to focus on today. Okay, again, check with operations, make sure all your lockout tagouts are in place, and make sure there is nothing in the system because we are going internal into the valve from this point on. All right, first thing we need to do is remove our handle. So we'll take a punch, drive out your pin, allows you to remove your handle. And then next thing is we'll take off our bolts for our mounting pad. Okay, now that we have the mounting pad removed, we have our top bearing that we need to remove. That's held on with a pin. So same thing, we'll take a punch and drive that pin out. So slide your top bearing off. When you remove your bearing, notice that your hole is not centered on the bearing. So you need to pay attention to that. The short end of the bearing will always go up when you put it back onto the stem of the valve. All right, from there, we can remove our packing bolts and then our packing gland. Removing our packing gland. On the old styled RSVP and the C-series valves we were discussing earlier, you're going to have Belleville washers, all right? And a Belleville washer is going to be cupped. And so when you're removing these, you have to pay special attention to which direction the cup is. And you want to, so when you pull them off, keep them stacked together and take note of which way your cup is going. So when you put them back together, you want to make sure you put them back the same way. Or in this case, you can just keep them all together and set them to the side. And then that way, when you put them back on, you just put the whole stack back on. Okay, now that we've got the packing gland out of the way, we want to use a packing pick. There's many different shapes and forms on packing picks, and you can use 2 or 3 different ones to get this. But we basically need to dig any remaining packing left that is in this chamber here. We need to dig this out of the valve. Okay, so you use your packing pick to get that all out. You want to make sure you get all of it out. You have to remove every bit of the packing. Once you get the packing out, you can take a air can or hook up to an air line and blow this area out. Make sure that we don't have any debris left in there or anything like that. Okay, so we have anti-extrusion rings and graphical packing rings. We always start, the very bottom ring is going to be anti-extrusion ring. And then next we're going to put in our 2 or 3 graphical packing rings. So we slide in our first anti-extrusion ring. Use something flat, a screwdriver edge works pretty good to help you get it started. So once you get the first one started good, then you can use the gland follower and help use to shove it down, okay? You always want to hold the stem up, make sure we keep the stem up, and just kind of tap down on your gland follower. And now we want to move to our packing rings. For this valve, we have 3 packing rings, and you'll notice these aren't cut like that anti-extrusion. So just slide them on down. So just keep working in each ring. We're still on our first ring. get it started a little bit. And if you need to, you take a hammer, just keep kind of tapping it down, working them down. Same thing, we're still on the graphole rings. All right, this is our third graphole ring. And from here, we can go ahead and start reassembling the valve. Now that we have our packing gland in, we can go ahead and put our Belleville springs back on. Again, make sure that they go on exactly the same way that they came off. We've got 4 stacks going on each. And for now, we're just going to just run these down by hand. We're not going to tighten them yet. And then the next step was our bushing. Remember that our hole was off center, and so we want the thin part of the bushing facing up. So we'll line that up. Okay, once you get your pin back in on your bushing, you want to make sure that you ding it with a punch so that that pin doesn't work its way out. The next step will be to put our mounting pad back on. Once we get our 4 bolts in on our mounting pad, we want to torque down these 4 bolts, and we want to do it in a star pattern. We'll do this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner. Once we've torqued down the bolts for the mounting pad, you can use a punch or something to hold this stem up as we tighten down our packing nuts, okay? And again, we want to do those in a star pattern and make sure you have your torques from us on exact torque requirements, and just keep going back and forth until we squeeze that and compress that packing down to what we need. Once you get it down and you reach your maximum torque, then we're going to want to put our lever handle back on, or our coupling for our gearbox or actuator, and we're going to want to stroke the valve 10 or 15, 20 times. And once we do that, double check your torque on your packing bolts and re-snug those down again to make sure that you got the proper torque. You can do that once or twice, and then from there, you should be good to go.